Hello friends, welcome to or welcome back to the Eerie Fairy Tales. My name is Letty and today I have for you a book haul. I do have quite a few books here. I have some more on the way, but I'll do another haul once those come in later. But I do have a nice little stack here. I have them grouped by genre. I have some nonfiction. I have some classics, fantasy, folklore kind of books going on here. I have some dark academia, some weird fiction, some gothic tales. I also have some thriller, mystery, suspense. I have a nice stack of horror, and I also have a nice stack of sci-fi. Now, some of these I've already read, so yay for me, and one of them I'm currently reading, so I will let you know what those are once we get to them. And as always, I'll have the links and timestamps down below. Timestamps will be grouped by the genres. And I'm not going to say too much about the synopsis, maybe just briefly, of course, because I'll be talking about them more in depth in my wrap-ups. So first section here, we'll go ahead and do a couple nonfiction. The first one is Propaganda by Edward Bernays. This book, I believe, is about 100 years old, and this is about, propaganda. So this has always been one that is referenced quite a bit in certain lectures that I listen to and watch, so this will be interesting to read. And the last nonfiction I got was Adam and Eve After the Pill, Paradoxes of the Sexual Revolution by Mary Eberstadt. Is that washing it out? Oh, there we go. And this is 10 years old. She does have a new one that just came out this past year, 2023, which I will get probably right after I read this. And this is about how society changed after the invention of the pill. Okay, then we have the classic and fairy tale folklore. And the first one is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and I'm sure we all know what this story is about. I did read this in December, so that will be in my upcoming wrap-up. And this next one is the last book that I read in December for 2023, and it was such a good book to end the year on. This I did technically do a haul in my Book of the Month unboxing, but just in case you missed it, I wanted to showcase it here as well. And that is The Kingdom of Sweets by Erica Johansson. I physically read this as well as listened to the audio while I was decorating my gingerbread house, and that was the last video that I posted, so I'll link that down below in case you missed it. And this is a really fun one. It's the retelling of the Nutcracker. And the next one is a cozy fantasy, and that is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. It's the prequel to Legends and Lattes. And then this next fantasy, I have heard only a few people here and there talk about, but everybody who has read it has absolutely loved it. And there was a particular review that I watched that just put me over the edge. It made me add to cart and get it right away. And I'm actually thinking about doing a video where it's going to be where I'm talking about books that I get specifically because of reviews. Like either they put the book on my radar at all, like I didn't know about it, or I knew about it, but they changed my mind and like made me get it. And then this one is The Spear That Cuts Through Water, and that's by Simon Jimenez. And that cover is just so beautiful. And this book had been on my radar, but I hadn't purchased it yet until I saw the review by Black and Blue Collar Reader. And his review was really good, and I was just like, I'm getting that book right now. This is an epic fantasy about shepherding an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family. So that sounds really good. And this next one I got because I am planning on reading the trilogy. I believe it's called the Winter Night trilogy. It's The Bear and the Nightingale. That trilogy that is inspired by Russian folklore, and whenever I can, I like to do tandem reading. I like to read the source material, the inspiration for these other books, and so I got this really beautiful edition of Russian Tales, and this is a hardcover illustrated by Dinara Mirtilapova. Sorry, I don't know if I'm correct on that pronunciation. But these are traditional stories of quests and enchantments. So these are like the Russian folklore. You may be familiar with the Baba Yaga, so it has that story as well as some other ones. And it has these really beautiful end papers. And it has a ribbon bookmark. Oh, here we go. The Baba Yaga. So I'm planning on reading this before I read that trilogy. And there are other books in this series. They have one about Japan folklore, which I'm interested in, as well as some African ones. They also have, do they have an Indian one as well? And then they have one where it's about Victorian ghost stories. So that's really fun. I like to get a few of those as well. And they're just so beautiful. Next up, we have some dark academia, some literary fiction, and gothic fiction. And the first one I did read. I read it in December, so that will be in my wrap-up. I read the paperback, but I loved it so much that I ended up getting the hardcover. And this book, it must be out of print or something. It is really hard to find the hardcover for. Most of the editions are $60 or more. I found one for cheaper than that. But once I got it, I realized why, because it's a library binding, but that's okay. It's fine. I kind of like the plastic. I know I'm weird like that, but I am glad to have a hardcover edition of this, and that is Bunny by Mona Awad. And it's going to be really reflective because of that ring light and the plastic. But yeah, I love this. Spoiler alert. You'll have to watch my December wrap up for my full thoughts. And then because I had just finished that book and loved it, I happened to watch Brooklyn over Brooklyn's Library. She had done a video where she talked about All's Well by Mona Awad. And I wasn't really interested in that book too much, but the way she talked about it, I'm like, okay, girl, you changed my mind. Now I need to get that book. Then I thought, well, if I got the hardcover of Bunny, might as well get the hardcover of All's Well. So I got that as well. And this is about a lady who suffers from chronic pain, which can relate, and unfortunately, and this is about a Shakespeare play. She wants to put on All's Well That Ends Well, right? I think that's it. Her cast wants to like participate in mutiny, and they want to put on Macbeth instead. I think that's it, yeah. Anyway, it sounds really good, and because I love Bunny, I hope I'll love this too. Next one is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling, and this is the author of The Luminous Dead, which I just read in December. You'll have to wait to see my wrap-up to see my thoughts on that one. But this one is a different one. This is not sci-fi or thriller. This is a gothic tale, and this is about a lady who is warned to stay away from her man's manor, but then she ends up being stranded somewhere. She has to go there, and he's acting really weird, but then in the morning he acts different. So it sounds really weird and interesting. It says it's like a dark mirror version of like a gothic horror, so that sounds really cool. I have heard mixed reviews of this, but they do say it's kind of weird, and so hopefully it's my kind of weird. And the next one is another one where I kind of had on my radar a little bit, but then a certain review pushed me over the edge and changed my mind. And that book is Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill. And that cover is just so cool. Oh, I love that so much. And the review that put me over the edge for this and made me decide to get it was Michaela over at Michaela Reed, so thank you for that. And this is like inspired by Mary Shelley and Frankenstein. A Victorian Gothic tale of grief, ambition, passion, and intrigue. So that sounds really cool. And plus, again, that cover, stunning. This is definitely a cover out book. All right, we're getting into the little bit larger stacks now, and this is the mystery thriller suspense. And the first one I did just read in December. It was really fun, perfect for the Christmas time, and that is The 12 Days of Murder by Andreina Cordani. And the review that put this on my radar was Victoria over at Victoria Sampley, so thank you for that. This was really fun. Think about this like the song 12 Days of Christmas mixed with a murder mystery dinner in the vein somewhat of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, like loosely. I would say loosely. I think they may even reference it in the book. This was really fun. Nice, cold, snowy, isolated setting. You'll have to watch my review for full thoughts on that. And this next book I found at the library for $1, so good deal on that. This one I actually did watch the TV series. I don't really watch too much TV. I don't have a TV or cable or anything like that, so I only watch things every once in a while. Like I seek them out on like streaming services or something like that. But I really did enjoy the series, and this is my first Stephen King book, and that is Under the Dome, and it is quite the chunky one. It's over 1,000 pages. So even though I know the story generally from the show, I mean, I watched it years ago, but hopefully I'll enjoy reading the book. I don't know when I'll get to this, but I have it. It's ready here when I am. And this next one was also in my Book of the Month unboxing, but I just want to go over it here again as well, just in case. And that is Breathless by Amy McCullough. And this is a mountaineering expedition where something goes wrong. It's like they're getting picked off. Like there could be, there could be a killer out there, but they're also having to battle the elements. And I love it when they're out in nature, like a survival adventure story. So that sounds really fun. I have heard mixed reviews on this one as well, but I'm curious to read it and see what I think. And this next one is a mystery thriller suspense that had been kind of on my radar. I'd heard a few people here and there talk about it, but Jan over at Jan Agaton, her review just changed my mind and I got it right away. So I hope I enjoy it as well. And that is A History of Fear by Luc Dumas. And this is about a killer who claims that the devil made him do it. And things happen in the book that make people think, oh, maybe that's true. Maybe he's not crazy. Maybe the devil really did make him do it. And then these next two, I hadn't heard a review of these, but it was actually duology. So the first one, The Anomaly by Michael Rudger. This wasn't like a review that I heard or anything. Somebody was actually unhauling it. Charlie over at Charlie's Chapters. She was unhauling it, but she said it had been compared to like Indiana Jones. And I was like, wait, hold up. And she had a Book of the Month edition. So I look on Book of the Month. They were sold out. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go look on Amazon. I look on Amazon and it's like, oh, it's a duology. So I had to get the second one too, and the second one is The Possession. So this has been described as Indiana Jones meets the X-Files in a creepy cave system. At least the first one is in a cave system, so all of that sounds really fun to me. Okay, and the next little stack I have here is the horrors, so let's get to it. We have Christmas at Wheeldale Inn. This is by Gemma Amor. This is a novella. I did read this in December, so that will be in my wrap-up. And this was put on my radar by Jason over at Jason's Weird Read, so thank you for that recommendation. This was a fun one. Next novella is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Wabgeshig Rice. And this one I am planning to read in January this month. I hopefully will be able to do a themed reading vlog. This will be one of them. And I recently just found out that there is actually a sequel. It's called Moon of the Turning Leaves, and that is on its way, so I should get that soon. And I guess the hardcover is going to come out early this year, but they don't even sell the first one in hardcover, so I don't know why they did that. Anyway, I was able to find paperback, so I do have the paperback coming. This is basically like an indigenous apocalyptic horror. And the Christmas at Wheeldale Inn, I'll go over that in my wrap-up. And this next one is a short story collection I am so excited to read because it's one of my favorite authors. And that is Bad Dolls by Rachel Harrison. And here in the States, you can only get it in ebook format. However, I got this from Blackwell's from the UK. It was only like 13 bucks and free shipping, so a really good deal. These are 4 short stories, so I'm very excited to read that. And this I found out about from Haley over at Haley Hughes. And we have another short story collection. This is Literally Dead, Tales of Holiday Hauntings, and this is edited by Gabby Triana. And I do have the Halloween edition of this one. However, Jason over at Jason's Weird Reads, he had this and he was reading it for this holiday season. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. I'm gonna get that too. So now I have the Halloween one and the Christmas one. Next up is my second Darcy Coates book, and this one I've heard mixed reviews on, but it's a snowy, cold, isolated setting horror book, so I am interested to read it for myself. That's Dead of Winter. So this hopefully I'll be reading within the next month or two. And the next one I have is The Ritual by Adam Neville. And this is horror in a wooded, isolated setting. It seems like a survival adventure, so that sounds really creepy and fun. I've heard really good things about this one. Oh, and this next one I am so excited to read. I cannot wait to read it. Hopefully I can read it this month here in January. And the first book that they wrote, Mary, which was inspired by Carrie, I wanted to read, but I stayed away from because of the trigger warnings. I don't like to read SA if I can help it, but this one sounded really good, so I got Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, and this one seems to be well loved. A lot of people have been talking about this. However, there is one review that convinced me to go ahead and get it, and that was Meg over at Reading with Meg. And this next one, same thing, I had heard people talk about here and there, but there was one review that really changed my mind about it, and that is Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Wang. Let me see that cover. I have to do something about that light. It's just way too reflective. But the review that changed my mind about this and made me decide to go ahead and get it was Lexi over at Books with Lexi. And this is about the beauty industry, like beauty and wellness. And there's a spa where this lady is working at, and it seems that they do questionable services or get their supplies in a questionable manner. So this one sounds really good. Oh, this next one is so beautiful. I had not heard of this book at all, but there is one channel that mentioned it, and so I am very thankful for that because I love this kind of setting, and it's Haunting in the Arctic by C.J. Cook. Let me see that. Oh, here we go. Has that nice little reflective, and it's basically what it sounds like, Haunting in the Arctic. And this was put on my radar by Sophie over at In Sophie's Book, so thank you for that. Hopefully I can read this in the next month or two. And the last horror book that I have in this haul is a book that seems to be pretty well loved. There are some people here and there that aren't a fan of it, but for the most part, people really seem to enjoy this book. And there was one review in particular that just changed my mind and made me decide to go ahead and get it. And that is The September House by Carissa Orlando. And the review that changed my mind about it was Michaela over at Michaela Reads. Just sometimes, people talk about a book in a certain way that just, now it makes sense to you and you want to read it. And I'm always down to read a haunted house story. I can't tell if I'm too far away. I'm still getting used to this ring light situation. Sorry, I'll figure it out. Anyway, now we have my sci-fi stack, and this is really fun because I love sci-fi and I really need to build up my collection again. The first one I did start reading. It's the first in a trilogy, and that is The Pines by Blake Crouch. I am almost halfway through, and this is a trilogy, like I said, the Wayward Pines trilogy. The second one is called Wayward. The last one is called The Last Town. And I've heard really good things about this. Once I get his book Recursion from Book of the Month, I'll have all of his books, so that's pretty cool. This is, it is sci-fi, but it has a little bit of mystery, thriller, just all kinds of different elements thrown in there, so that's really fun. Oh, and this next one I have read. It's a sci-fi horror, The Scourge Between Stars by Ness Brown. And this is a starship being attacked by aliens, and some weird things happen with that. and that will be in my upcoming December wrap-up. Then we have kind of an unusual one because typically this author writes horror, but he does have some backlist of sci-fi, and that is Bad Astronauts by Grady Hendrix. And yes, it's spelled wrong on purpose, kind of like badass, but then blended with bad astronauts. I had not heard of this, but Lexi over at Books with Lexi put it on my radar. Then we have another novella, and that's Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. And this is the book that the movie The Thing was based on, and this will be in an upcoming reading vlog. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. You know, we have tech issues here. And the next sci-fi that I got was Generation Ship by Michael Mame. Mame? I think that's how you would say it. A little bit of a bigger book, but this looks like a fun one. It's basically a colony ship. They're traveling to a different planet, and instead of doing like the cryo thing, like putting everybody to sleep or frozen, they just keep people reproducing basically. So generation ship, politics ensue, and drama. Sounds fun. And then we have a space opera, These Burning Stars by Bethany Jacobs, and this is a first in a series. I think the second one will come out later this year, I'm thinking. And this was put on my radar by Tori over at Tori Morrow. Then we have a nice little chunky one, and that is Paradise One by David Wellington. This is also a first in a series. I believe the next one, Revenant X, comes out in November, so quite a bit to wait for that, but nice and chunky. I think this is 700 pages or so. Yeah, almost 700. This is space horror, basically, and I found out about this book, I think it was originally Brittany at Books with Brittany. There might have been another channel that mentioned it, or I saw it in a comment, but I'm pretty sure it was Brittany who mentioned it. What I started doing is I leave a little post-it note in the book if a particular channel recommended it. Like if I got it because of a channel, I like to make a note of that. And then also if there's going to be any more books in the series. Hopefully I can read that soon. It looks really good. And the last two books are part of a series. There's more books in the series, but I think I might just get these first two. And I did get the special edition hardcover, and these are really beautiful. And that is Dune by Frank Herbert. And you see that it has the blue sprayed edges, and then it has the end pages. Fear is the mind killer, kind of says. It's like indented a little bit. And then the inside dust jacket, and has some more artwork here. Now Amazon is just so brilliant, and they decided to ship this hardcover special edition that weighs like 5 pounds in a bubble mailer. Yeah. Why? Why would you do that? And so the edge of it right here got a little messed up, but if I wanted to get it replaced, I'd have to drive to the UPS store, you know, mail it back to Amazon, they get it, and then they ship me back another one. I mean, would the next one be in worse condition? I don't understand why they do that. The second one I got was in better condition, and that's Dune Messiah. And again, the sprayed edges here, and pages, and pages. I will face my fears, what it says on here. And the inside dust jacket. Now this one, they shipped in a box with like the plastic bubble like packaging to protect it. So I don't know why they did that. Like you ship this one in really nice packaging, but then you ship this big one in a bubble mailer. That makes no sense to me. Why? I don't know. But I cannot believe I have never read Dune. It is such a classic. I have to read it. I have to. Okay friends, that will wrap it up for my haul. Had a little bit of everything in here. Like I said, some of these books I've already read, so that will be in my upcoming December wrap-up. Some of these will be in an upcoming reading vlog, hopefully. And if you've read any of these books, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.